Hello, welcome to Localization Today, where we explore how language, technology, and community converge to unlock ideas for everyone, everywhere. I'm Eddie Arrieta, CEO at MultiLingual Media. Today's episode centers on one of the most widely referenced benchmarks in our industry, the Nimdzi 100. Published annually, the report provides a snapshot of the language services market, tracking growth, shifts in demand, emerging regions, and how companies are adapting to ongoing change. This year's edition brings not only updated rankings, but also new sections, deeper analysis, and expanded visibility into the mid-market. Joining us is Marjolein Groot Nibbelink. Thank you very much, Marjolein.
Yes.
Who leads the Nimdzi 100 project. We'll explore what this year's data reveals about productivity, staffing, and where the industry is actually heading beyond, ladies and gentlemen, the headlines. Marjolein, welcome back home. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
How is the wilderness?
We're about to head into the wilderness again in 3 weeks. So I just finished the Nimdzi 100 project, and now it's time to pack bags, make the house ready, and head north.
Would you take the Nimdzi 100 in your heart with your knife and your pistols? And you must have a lot of gear to organize. More gear than with the Nimdzi 100, about the same level of complexity.
A lot of physical gear and no data.
No data, just physicality.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much again for joining us here. How are things going? How did things go with the Nimdzi 100? Congratulations on the 2026 release of the report. How is it going? How are you feeling?
Good. Yeah, the project went really fluent. I was involved in the bringing to print process 3 years ago, and then, well, actually two years ago, I guess, 3 issues ago, and then last year, I was allowed to lead the project, and it turned out that my skills and knowledge were more valuable than I thought initially. And so this year is the first year that I really headed the entire project, both the research and the analysis and the writing and the production. So it's neat. I feel like I could take some ownership of it and go more in depth simply because I was working on every step of the process, and also because of new technologies. And it was much easier to mine for knowledge from all of the survey entries that we get, and then also the conversations that we've had with industry leaders, in addition to other reports that have come out over the year. And so gathering all that information, it's been really helpful to use technologies to draw the right information from all that data.
And right now, this is available for free on the Nimdzi website, correct?
Yeah, it's very easy. It's the first menu item is research, and then it's Nimdzi 100. So that's where you can go. You can go straight to nimdzi.com/nimdzi-100.
And for those that are not familiar, of course, for those that get the Multilingual magazine, part of the audience, they might be familiar with the printed, but have not been familiar with the ecosystem that the Nimdzi 100 is. When you go to the website, there is a landing page. I can consume the Nimdzi 100 within the website, right? And then within PDF format. What can you tell us, rather, should be the question, about this year's format? As compared to previous years, and some of the insights that you mentioned, that you had more time to devote, more ownership to also explore there. How did that all look for you?
Yeah, so there is indeed a web version, and then there's a PDF for those who enjoy, I don't know, reading it on a tablet without having the paper copy. And the Multilingual subscribers may be used to seeing it shipped along with Multilingual magazine. And this year we are approaching it slightly differently. And those who really would like a paper copy, they can order it on the Nimdzi website. And the print issues will be available in 10 days. Personally, I love that, because well, I came from magazine publishing, so I really enjoy having something in my hand. And yeah, I was very adamant about having a printed version. And also, anyone who's going to Look World, um, Eddie, are you gonna have some at the booth?
Oh, we'll have plenty on the booth. We can get you to sign a few. You should sign a few.
Yeah, because they're coming to my house first. People might not realize that, but they're coming to my house. And then, yeah, we still have a distribution
Let's
center
get
here for
25 signed copies,
25
Marjolein.
signed
You
copies. Okay.
sign them and you say from whatever you put you do you. You do
Yeah.
you.
All
And then
right.
we'll take pictures of the people that take those first 25
Fun.
Nimdzi 100 signed by Marjolein Groot. I think
Sure.
that would be awesome. I think that
Yeah.
would be great. And then we can follow up with this Mila. Let's not forget. This is a great one. Yeah. Dublin and also Vancouver.
Vancouver. So it sounds like Vancouver is going to work with my timing of driving back from Alaska, and I'm going to try to swing by Look World.
That is perfect. You can
Mm-hmm.
sign them yourself
Yeah.
in person. You can take
Or
some
just, yeah,
pictures,
or just,
and you bring the leather jacket. What are the benefits of the leather jacket in where you are? Where are you at? Idaho, right?
I'm in Idaho, in a small town. Leather jackets are great. We were just talking about leather jackets. I have way too many, and I intend to buy more soon. Um, it's yeah, I don't know. It becomes it. Actually, the funny story is, so I was working at MultiLingual before Nimdzi took it over, and when they bought it, they upped my pay. And the first thing I bought with it that month, my first month's paycheck, I went to this little store in the corner and I had seen this leather jacket there for a really long time and I didn't think I could afford it. And I took
This
that
is it.
first paycheck and I
This
bought
is
that
it.
leather jacket and I wore it all the time. And most of the pictures you see of me, I'm wearing that leather jacket. And so it kind of became part of my personality as the publisher. Yeah.
That is wonderful. I love that, and of course, we see it even in the conversation, right? You devote a significant amount of time, focus, effort to understand the industry as the Nimdzi 100, and then you take some time out. You come as an insider with an outsider perspective. What does the report look into in terms of industry productivity? Conversation, of course, is out there. What did you see this year? Are companies being more efficient, or is just more pressure?
Yeah. And kind of talking about that outsider perspective too. I think people can relate to um, being in their offices alone. Our industry is based on a lot of remote work. Going on LinkedIn, seeing people freak out about the situation, things are changing really, really fast. I take a step away from it and then come in with kind of a fresh look. Like I know how things were last year, and now I'm going to look at how things are at this point this year. So I step away for a good 9 months and come back in because the Nimdzi 100 is exactly that. It is looking at what has changed since the previous point of measure. Um, and so I think that helps me. When it comes to productivity, it was really quite astounding. Productivity has been going up since we started measuring it, but usually not more than I would say 20% a year. Productivity is up by our measure 73.6%, I believe. So not doubled, but 3/4 more productivity. That is a calculation of the revenue gained in a company divided by the number of employees. And of course, people know productivity goes up when you add technology and you develop AI forward solutions, but that is a real number. So people can really see that, they can benchmark themselves against it. And I thought that that was one of the most telltale statistics that we had in the report this year.
And in terms of that revenue gain that you see is, I've seen more moderate expectations
Mhm.
year over year on what the total size of the market is going to be. Is there a recomposition in what the total market looks like? In terms of that revenue gain, are
Mhm.
companies offering more technology, for example, and then rely less on human talent,
Traditional services.
thus selling the same perhaps, offering new technology services, but then not using the same number of talent, or it's like talent
Mhm.
maintained and then more revenue is being produced. How does that dynamic at least feel from what you've seen?
Right. So more productivity, you could consider that happens if there's more volume being processed and more revenues being gained. But if you look at one of my favorite, one of the most telltale graphs, I think, of the report is the growth by segment that we've measured since 2021. And the segments are the top 10, the top 20, top 50, then the 50 to 100, and then the rest of the market. So it's the first time we saw negative growth in one of the segments, which was the 50 to 100 segment. So those are the companies like between 18.5 million and, I don't want to lie, I think like 50 million of annual revenues. So they're struggling the most, but overall, the growth is down in all segments. Um, that doesn't mean negative growth, but it is slimmer than previous years. It is slowing down, and even the large companies are having a hard time. The fastest growing companies are growing not as fast as previous years. The fastest growth is realized mostly by M&A, so it's harder to measure how healthy the company actually is, how much of that growth is organic growth, um, without getting full transparency into the finances. So yeah, that's kind of the overall picture. The mid-market segment is struggling hard, but we still calculate that the entire volume, the entire size of the industry is growing, but growing by probably 1% or less, simply because we don't have visibility into the big machines, the LLMs that are gaining popularity now and gaining users. Um, we just don't have the data from OpenAI and how much is being invested in that technology, how much software subscription revenue do they get from that. So that's where we're limited, but we're estimating. This is always an estimation that the entire market did grow a little bit, but we know for sure that it did not grow in the segment of like the 5 million to 50 million revenue companies.
One of the very interesting things to me is this inclusion of the mid-market ranking, and there is always so much. I mean, I always thought every time it's meeting so many great companies
Hmm.
that nobody was looking into at this level of detail. So this for you is the next 250, and
Right. And what's funny too is I knew company names through multilingual as advertisers, many that have been advertisers for a really long time. And so in my perception, they were big, important companies. And then I find out that they are not top 100 companies, that they sit somewhere at number 251. And I had no idea. And so I see their revenues, and then I know that they spend money on Multilingual magazine. And it's really neat to see, but to be able to share those names in the next 250, so it's actually a separate ranking that's only online. Um, the next 250, so in effect, we have a Nimdzi 350 this year. Those companies, though, that entered the survey, their information, their survey responses are used also in the Nimdzi 100 analysis. And we're getting more of those mid-market players to join the effort, and it's giving us a much more complete view of the industry.
that is wonderful. And I think the estimations are a very interesting approach. I know for a fact so many language service companies, LSPs in Colombia, interpreting companies, translation businesses, regulated industry translations, they have
Hmm.
no idea that Lockworld exists. They have
Right.
no idea this whole community meets in all these different
Uh-huh.
places
Hmm.
and consolidates knowledge through all different podcasts and different events and different reports like this one. I think people don't realize that these estimations actually are probably an underestimation if
Yeah.
we were be able to like really measure a lot of the things that other companies are doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at accessible market size, and I think that's what Slate calculator uses for their market size estimation, you're not going to get past, I don't know, $35 billion. But that's exactly what we know with our experience from the industry, is that there are so many small, specialized boutique providers, which, by the way, those seem to not be as affected if they are specialized, especially, like you say, in regulated industries, um, or rare language pairs that are not covered with LLMs yet. So, yeah, this industry is by its nature a fragmented industry, and we need to do our best to draw people together to get those companies to, kind of join the movement, to make clear to the clients what our new capabilities are and what our value is as a providing industry.
Yeah, and it's part of the conversations that how do you call it? When you go to conferences, the whole conversations. How do you say there is an expression for this?
Like the water cooler
Yeah,
conversation.
like the water cooler conversations of the industry. I think there is an understanding that there is an element of collective intelligence
Hmm.
in the industry that allows for the industry to um, morph and adapt to different needs in different functions of the globalization sphere, and that's very powerful. Like, you see how knowledge is transferred so quickly through like a lock world, a gala,
Hmm.
an ALC, like all these events that happen throughout the year, the podcasts, like that generates a lot of resilience. And I think that the question that we also have about this is the discussion on staffing levels.
Hmm.
Are companies shrinking in terms of like total human talent? What's going on in overall terms?
Yeah, so from our survey respondents, the entire poll, altogether, all of the staff in every section of the industry, staffing levels are down just under 5% overall. Yes, more linguist staffing got cut, more technology talent got hired, and then we see a very, very limited shortage in tech talent. I think only 17% of companies said that they had a hard time attracting the right tech talent. But then, interestingly, it was more than 25% for linguists. So there are a lot of linguists leaving. I know that linguists online say, hey, I can't find work, and that's definitely true for a lot of them. But when I talk to industry leaders, they are saying that their linguists, especially the really good ones, they don't want to they don't want to make the adaptations. They don't want to adjust to this new reality. This is not why they became linguists. So just to do MTPE all day. So they're leaving, and therefore there's actually talent crunch in good linguist talent. So it's worth for people that are having a hard time to find work. Invest in yourself. Companies are saying that they're willing to invest in training for linguists. So, keep an eye open for those opportunities. They are there because the companies are expressing a shortage in linguist talent.
And that makes a lot of sense. A lot of the progress that we will see in language services will need to come from our understanding of the evolution of language and this much deeper conversation. And I think we're just scratching the surface on what it's needed to be able to get a holistic picture. And I think the Nimdzi 100 now, the mid market ranking and the Nimdzi 350, can't wait to see that gives an idea through the different insights that we get from there on this. Marjolein, new sections, new graphs, favorite graphs. I love the graphs because they immediately tell you like what's up.
Mhm.
I prefer looking at all the graphs than reading the whole thing. So, what graphs would you send me to?
Yeah, and what's fun too now, you can click on a graph, any graph, and then you can just toggle through them and just absorb the information in that way if you're more of a visual person. Um, One of the best ones is the one that I shared first, is the business challenges ranked graph, and it basically looks like a table with an assortment of shades of blue, going from light blue for a low percentage to dark blue for high percentage, and then we calculate the weighted average of how companies are ranking those business challenges. Um, And because we can compare to previous years, and that's the part that we do in the text, it makes it even more interesting. I love that one. I like the atlas graph that we have developed even further this year, and yet you get more than just one statistic, so you can see growth and market share. And that's the one we have for the Nimdzi 100, and then we also made it for the mid-market. So for those next 250, and you can see both of those side by side by geography, and we're now separating the Middle East as one of the regions that we want to calculate. New sections. Well, we were able to get a lot of information about the Chinese language market this year, and so we decided to include a segment on China and emerging markets to kind of create space for those much overlooked areas, regions in the world, South America, Africa, APAC, etc. Yeah.
I think also the Nimdzi 100, it's very human. I really liked a section where it talks about the optimism
Mhm.
about it's the person's own business and the optimism about the industry.
Yeah.
And I love it because if you look at the graph on the website or the PDF, you will see that you will have from 1 to 10 is the scale, like a liquor scale. It is what it's called, right, Marjolein? You will have from one
Likert.
Likert,
That sounded like liquor,
a
liquor
Likert,
scale.
a
Like, I'll take.
Likert scale. Uh, then from 1 to 10, you'll have from 5 to 8 the highest percentages: 13, 20, 20, and 19. So
Mhm.
like 80%, 70 to 80% is there from 5 to 8. Then you
Yeah.
can read it in so many ways. But
Mhm.
to me, I always remember this net promoter score is like most people are not either optimistic or
Right.
pessimistic from my reading. Of course, what I love about this graph is that it's open to interpretation. You can go check it out and you can see like the optimism about the industry and optimism about own business, and then kind of like decide what the mood is. What do you
Right.
think was the mood that you perceive from the respondents?
Well, I mean, what you're pointing at is exactly what you experience in person at events, right? People stand in groups at receptions and other gatherings, and they complain about their concern. They share their concerns about the shifts in the industry. But then, if you walk up to their booth, they will have nothing but positive things to say about their business, right? And like, things are going so great, blah blah blah. So yeah, there's that dichotomy that's really interesting. What's new in the graph this year is that we added last year's results as well in like a light gray shadow basically behind the bars of this year, so you can visually compare to last year and how things have changed. Traditionally, and it's the same this year, the optimism about the industry overall is lower than the optimism about people's own business. And you have to remember though that this is an average. So another, I wanted to come back on the new sections, and even though the technology section is not a new section, it's actually a whole chapter. It's the final chapter of the report after the atlas. But Laszlo wrote these really interesting sector analyses, and so within the, of course, booming technology sector of the language industry, there are these subsectors. And so he wrote about the data for AI sector analysis. Then there's the machine translation sector analysis, translation management sector analysis, multimodal language technology sector analysis. This is a really interesting kind of dissection of the technology sector in our industry, and it's very, very much worth a read.
And I agree. There is a lot to unpack, and I'm assuming that now you're gonna do your Nimdzi 100 tour. Are there any demos, any in-depth conversations that you're gonna be having with the Nimdzi team and Nimdzi Live happening? What's going on
This
with
is
your
it. This
tour?
is my tour. This
This is your tour.
this is the end of my tour. This
This is
closes
the
it
end of
off.
your tour.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we sent it to print just the other day, and we've done a presentation. If you go to the website to the landing page, you see the presentation there. It's not really long. It's only 30 minutes. There's a lot of laughter. So do that, you can watch that if you have a moment. And yeah, that's pretty much it, because I'm going to be packing up. Tomorrow's my last day.
Oh, wonderful. And of course, companies um, now the 350 and there. Why would a company want to sit down with you and give the information to you? If I'm like a company that I would say I'm 270, I really want to be in the 200 for what that means, right? That
Mhm.
just means there are brackets of pockets of value that
Yeah.
you can be part of. Why would it matter to these companies to like be part of the Nimdzi 100, 250, 350?
hmm Well, one is to be part of the effort, and that looks good. You know, the only way we can do accurate benchmarking is by gathering a lot of data. And the other thing is, you have your name out there on a list, and if investors are looking for a company of your size in your region or with your specialties, it's going to be really easy for them to find you in an independent publication. So that's a reason. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask them more myself because that's what I can come up with, but I should ask them more directly why they share their data. I find it amazing, and I'm incredibly grateful to all the companies that join the effort.
And it's incredible how you put it when you mention joining the effort. It does relate completely to this concept of collective effort, collective intelligence, and making sure that
hmm
things are in place to make sure that the buyers see cooperation. They see teamwork,
hmm
and from that there is a lot of innovation that can happen. I am starting to see in this whole staffing conversation talent going from one team to another in very good terms, and helping it all the
Yeah.
companies kind of like
It's a
grow.
community. It's a real
It's a
community.
community.
There's every time you go to Local World, there's people that you associate with a certain company, and then they've moved to another company, and everyone is still happy and having beers together. Like it's not a big deal usually. It's a community effort, and it is a community service from Nimdzi. This is available for free, not just the ranking, but the entire report, which is in print 80 pages. So the ranking is nine pages, and the entire report is 80 pages. So the entire report is available for free with a deep look at the market, a deep look at money situations, M&A, technology, geographical distribution, and just the state of the industry. And you don't have to pay for it. You don't even have to put in your email address and your name. You can just go ahead and get it. You can download it. You can request a print copy, and which are not endless supply. So get yours while they last. We don't have very many.
And for those that want to find other excuses to look into it, yes, there is an element of AI specifically in the technology section. What is the big shift that you've seen there when you go to the reporters? There's a great graph where you have what before Gen AI looked like, which is language localization and content technology being the big part of the business, and then a small part of the business being AI. Whereas
Mhm.
today, AI is a big part of the technology budgets and expenditure,
Yeah.
while language localization and content technology, it's the smaller size of the conversation. It looks like now there's more demand
hmm
for everything. In terms of what you found in technology, Marjolein, what is insightful for you? What can you tell us about this whole thing with artificial intelligence in the mix?
It's the biggest driver of the industry right now. It's the biggest disruptor for those that haven't had a chance to adapt. In the big picture, a lot of providers have been able to adjust and include these really powerful tools in their workflow, and they're able to serve their clients better. But it's the client's understanding that's often behind somewhat. So spending time with clients is incredibly important, holding their hands through the new process, explaining to them where language providers still play a major part. And then in terms of the report, we have developed some new ways to visualize these shifts in technology, and taking a deeper look at it. The survey is asking more questions about the technology sector separately from the traditional services sector. So it's a very, very good look at technology as well. We have types of technologies developed. Which size companies launched multiple products, new proprietary technologies or services. So you can really start seeing this divide grow between the companies that are able to adapt, which usually requires tremendous investment, and those that can't. So new visuals for this budget effect of generative AI, where we're starting to compare to previous year's results, but we also have gathered results this year that we cannot compare yet, that we intend to use going forward. So, for example, the overall split of revenues gathered from traditional services, pure technology offerings, and interpreting. So over time, I expect to see the technology revenue grow. But we just don't know yet. So we have a baseline of data from this year and some also from the previous year that you'll see visualized next year, because we need to start doing comparisons with those. You can't just, present 1 year of data and say this is how the industry looks. So we want to compare. And the technology section of the report has just become endlessly more interesting this year, thanks to Laszlo, because that's what he wrote mostly.
That is correct. I love having reference points year over year and then seeing graphs that kind of like explain it better. So if you like looking at reports like this, if you like graphs, if you like insights that can help grow your business, I believe this is a great opportunity to like kind of like understand how you're positioning yourself. There's a lot of great nuggets there. I'm sure the Nimdzi team, and within Multilingual, you will also see some of the promotion of this amazing work by the Nimdzi team. Of course, Marjolein, I can get it physical. I can have the digital version of the magazine. You don't have any current call for companies, or if I'm a company, I want to be part and kind of like send you my information. How can I do that today?
Let's see. You can sign up for the newsletter, and when you do on nimdzi.com, I believe that you can specify that you're interested in the Nimdzi 100, and then you will get the updates. So, which means releases next year when the survey starts happening, you'll get a notification. And there is always a way to reach the Nimdzi 100 team directly, which is at nimdzi-100 at nimdzi.com. And, our people are everywhere, and anything you need, you can ask of any of them, and they will point you in the right direction.
That is wonderful. Very easy to get. Marjolein, before we go, any final thoughts, recommendations before you go on to your long trip in into the Alaskan wilderness? The Alaskan wilderness, is it?
Sure, yeah, there's a lot of wilderness there. Well, last time we talked about getting you a rock. And our CFO is going to be in this town, and so I'm hoping that we have overlap, and I can give her a rock, and then she can give it to you at Lookworld.
Wow, that would be
And
amazing.
you can have it at the booth.
Wow. How big is this rock going to be?
I don't know.
The
I haven't
biggest one
picked
right
yet.
now is this one. Look. Well, I'm showing Marjolein one of my rocks. This is not. It's nothing.
A piece of.
Of course, it's
I
not.
don't know.
Just,
I have to see it closer if it's
yeah,
quartzite
it's all this
or
just rocks from
sandstone.
here. But great, thank you. I really look forward to having the rocks from. I'm sure I'm gonna become a collectionist of different like minerals. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, we have hundreds just on all the windowsills. It's kind of crazy. Well, I just have to pick one for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for talking to us about the Nimdzi 100. Amazing work. Congratulations. Amazing report. And I look forward to the other materials that are going to come out from the Nimdzi 100 team.
Right, because that's the other thing. Thank you for pointing at that. We gather so much information with the survey, and not all of it can be used in the narrative of the Nimdzi 100. So there will also be the language technology atlas. There will be another interpreting index. So these will all start coming out in the next few months. It's just that I'm not going to be involved with them. I did the data mining, and now I'm going to take off. So.
Like a good miner. Fantastic. That is a wonderful. Marjolein, thank you very much. And of course, to our listeners for listening to Localization today, thank you. Big thank you to the Nimdzi team, the Nimdzi 100 team, of course, especially to Marjolein for walking us through this year's Nimdzi 100 and helping us better understand what the data is actually telling us about the industry. If you are interested in exploring the full report, including the mid-market rankings and new sections on emerging markets, you can find it online through Nimdzi. Nimdzi.com is the first section on the reports, and you can also access the print edition that will be shipped to you with love. We'll have all of that included in the description of this episode, whether you're listening to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Please remember to subscribe, to rate, and share so others can find it. I'm Eddie Arrieta with MultiLingual Media. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Marjolein, good luck and see you next time too.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.